Same song, same situation. When you're talking about the Houston Rockets, the Houston Rockets got bounced in the second round by the Los Angeles Lakers. After the game, Mike D'Antoni said in a statement that he will no longer be coach of the Houston Rockets. Now, a lot of people are looking at it thinking that, well, Mike D'Antoni just want to go someplace else, try something different. But the writing was on the wall. Mike D'Antoni knows the only way he could have possibly kept his job with the Houston Rockets and didn't mind being a lame duck coach last year was the simple fact that if he could get this team to the NBA Finals, there will be an extension waiting for him. Win, lose, or draw in the NBA Finals, an extension will be waiting for him at the desk. That route did not take place. So now, a lot of people are wondering, what now for the Houston Rockets? Because the Houston Rockets' future looks cloudy at best, very muddy. No one can predict what the Houston Rockets' future is going to look like. I'm going to tell you guys what they should exactly do. All right? If they're listening to this video, if not, who cares? All right? So, let's go down a winding road of James Harden. Excuse me. They're both the same player when you think about it. James Harden. They got James Harden. First thing they did was pair him up with Dwight Howard. That didn't work. Second thing they did was make him the point guard. That way he can control the ball. Imagine that. An ISO player who can do amazing, incredible things when he has the ball, but can he be efficient without the ball? No. All right? Can he play off the ball? No. All right? That experiment, disastrous. Okay? So now what we're going to do. I got a great idea. Why don't we trade for Chris Paul? All right? We got a traditional point guard. He can make James Harden better as well as the rest of the team better. How did that work out, folks? Made it all the way to the second round, I believe, last year. The Golden State Warriors beat them with no problems. The same Golden State roster didn't have Kevin Durant. And Boogie Cousins was in and out. And they lost in that series. A lot of mass confusion, and Chris Paul is upset with James Harden on how he wanted the offense to just play. It was just going to be the James Harden show. Chris Paul thought that they should expand on top of that. You know, it's okay for James Harden. It could be the James Harden show, but you also need other people that can score the basket, run plays for. Out goes Chris Paul in this magnificent trade of Chris Paul and James Harden. A lot of people in the basketball world said, oh my God, the Houston Rockets just fleeced OKC. Chris Paul is a great player, but nobody didn't want to take on that salary, which is true. Absolutely true. But you know what's worse than that? Russell Westbrook is a good player as well. But nobody want to take on that contract. So you got out of a contract nobody wants, and now you're in a contract that nobody wants. Who can thunk it? Okay? So, 1 year with Russell Westbrook and James Harden, and it's the same damn song. Second round. Got dethroned by the Lakers. Embarrassed this series. At least they were somewhat competitive last year with the Golden State Warriors. They wasn't competitive this year with the Houston Rockets. With the LA Lakers. You might as well just call it a sweep. They did win one game, but they swept them. All right? So, the future of the Rockets. Because when you look at what's left on the table, the Houston Rockets are they're in salary cap hell. They couldn't make a move to save their own freaking life. Now, when most teams are in that situation, then they say, you know what? Let's use our draft picks as resources. You know, put us up in a better spot in the draft, or package them and get a player or two, because we're a player or two away, because we got two of the best ISO players, and Russell Westbrook and James Harden. They just need one more piece. They can't even do that. They done mortgage and effed away their draft picks. So now you're in salary cap hell. an uncertainty about your future because you don't have necessarily draft picks to even go as far as rebuilding for the next several years. And you got two players with max contracts that nobody wants nor care, right? James Harden. Do anyone remember when James Harden was at his best? He was at his best coming off the bench. He was at his best coming off the bench. Think about that for a second, folks. So, is James Harden going to have a Carmelo Anthony moment and say, you know what? I just want to get on a team and help them win a ring. He doesn't have that mindset, and that salary dictates that he's never going to have that mindset. Same with Russell Westbrook. You got two ISO players with max contracts that nobody wants, okay? The salary. Nobody wants them for that salary. And to be truthfully and 100% real, nobody wants to take on that attitude. People are going to say, what attitude? James Harden is very cocky. He's egotistical. He really thinks he's the star of the show. These two guys can do wonderful and great things in the regular season. Pack the stat sheet. Scoring. Records. Things of that nature. But when it comes to when you need them the most, which is the regular season, the postseason. The regular season is like checkers, okay? You don't have to be smart to beat somebody in checkers, all right? It's red and black chips. You just, put the red chip on the red square. Then the red chip goes over the black and then lands on another red square, okay? That's how checkers is. It's a mindless game when you think about it. But the postseason is like chess. You got to strategize. Sometimes you got to make a move before you even make your first move. You have to think 3 plays in advance. And when you look at these two players, they can't do that. The Rockets are, for the next several years, they're going to do some wonderful, crazy things in the regular season. But when it matters the most, they're not going to be around long enough. Now, a lot of people saying trade Russell Westbrook. Who would want him? Who would want Russell Westbrook for that max salary? And Russell Westbrook is declining. Russell Westbrook is too late in the game to change his old habits and his old ways. When you trade Russell Westbrook, you get what you get from Russell Westbrook. Likewise for James Harden. That's the future of the Houston Rockets. Now, the Houston Rockets, they don't have a head coach because he was smart enough to know I'd rather just quit than get fired. And they're not going to have a GM. Daryl Morey days are numbered as far as being the GM for the Houston Rockets. I said his name wrong. The GM for the Houston Rockets, I said his name wrong. My apologies. They're going to be looking for a new GM and for a new head coach. Now, I'm only speculating this. And what they're probably going to do is probably find a GM first. And they're going to find a GM, either a successful GM at a successful organization, which is going to be hard to lure them to the Houston Rockets. You got a good thing in San Antonio. You got a good thing in Golden State. You got a good thing with the Lakers. You got a good thing with the Clippers. So you're not going to be able to get that GM from any of those organizations. But what you can get is someone who worked for that GM, who's not a GM, who's going to be young. And I think they're going to get somebody from the Golden State organization. And they're going to promote him as GM. He won't have any GM experience, but very, very smart. And find somebody who can get them out of this salary cap hell. It's going to be a GM that's young and qualified enough to get them out of this salary cap hell. to get them back on the road as far as rebuilding. Because the only road they have is rebuilding. If you think that they are a piece or two pieces or three pieces away from title contender, you're sadly mistaken. They're rebuilding for the future. So you're going to get somebody young from either of those organizations that's a capologist, a statistician, someone who can twist the numbers to benefit them. And you're going to get someone from that organization. And that GM is going to pick his head coach. The first candidate on that GM's list is probably going to be somebody that they have worked with, who was an assistant coach, just hasn't had the opportunity as far as becoming a head coach. So it's going to be someone that's going to have relationships, who have a business relationship with that GM. I think it's going to be from the Golden State Warriors organization. It wouldn't shock me none if someone from the LA Clippers organization. But I feel like out of one of those two organizations, they're going to find someone who's looks beyond the stats, who's not going to pick up people because of what their jersey says on the back of their jersey. It's not going to be, we got to get the best name. It's going to be, we're going to get the best fit. And this is going to be a rebuilding process, a trust the process type of thing. I don't think as far as them rebuilding it back, it's going to take several years. Several years. So you're going to need somebody who's smart enough, who can probably orchestrate where, as far as either trading Russell Westbrook or James Harden to not a contending team, but a team that's looking for one of those players for name value alone to sell more tickets. Russell Westbrook to the Charlotte Hornets will be a good start. Trading him there, and the Charlotte Hornets give up players that they wasn't interested in. They had to take on some salaries of those. And they're not going to be as big as a salary that they're receiving with Russell Westbrook, but it's going to be some salaries that they tried to get rid of, they just couldn't. And they'll have some draft picks along the way. I think that's going to be your first domino. And as far as James Harden goes, he'll probably play 1 or maybe 2 seasons, and then they'll be in the process of trading him as well. Another, I don't think him. I when I thought about it, I was going to say something, but I'm not him, because he's kind of set in his organization. But it's obviously going to be somebody young. And I think it's going to be coming from one of those camps. It's going to come from the Golden State camp, San Antonio, the Clippers, possibility of the Miami Heat organization. Like Eric Spoelstra. Let's just say, hypothetically, he wants his own franchise run where he can be head coach and GM. I think Eric loves Miami. He's not going to leave Miami. Him and Pat Riley has a great friendship, a great relationship there. But it's going to be someone who's young and smart coming from those other organizations, and they're going to start this whole thing over again. And I think it's going to be that way. But the Rockets are not one player away as far as winning the title. They just simply not. They're just not there yet. Anyway, I gotta go. I'll holler at y'all guys later. Deuces.